Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha.
Belated Merry Christmas and belated Happy New Year.
Yes, you too. Happy New Year. It's January 5th today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's already going by fast. How's that happening?
I don't know what happened. Well, I was busy. We were both busy over the holidays.
Well, and I was gone camping for from the 28th, I think, to the 2nd, 28th or 29th to the 2nd of January. We came home. So, then there's cleanup and all of that.
Yes, and I was gone too. For 3 nights, I think it was. We went. Kim had booked a hotel at the on the Oregon coast. I was okay not going away, but because she's still working and she works from home, she oftentimes, like on the weekends and any kind of days off, she likes to get out of she wants to get out of her house.
Yeah.
She wants to get out of her house. Completely understandable. And so she had booked this trip to the beach, but there was all the stuff of, entertaining of Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then we left. Isn't that technically Boxing Day, the 26th?
Mm-hmm.
So that morning, I quickly was throwing things in a bag and getting the dog food. And anyway, It was a little stressful getting out of the house. But
ours was kind of a quick packing, and it was kind of nice. The last 2 trips that we've taken, we haven't really worried too much about camping food and. Mm-hmm. I just kind of cleaned out the refrigerator and took stuff to clean out the refrigerator soup.
Yeah.
And we had sort of some of the usual stuff, but Robert made ceviche, so we had that one night. But, without all that planning of, okay, what are you going to have for this meal? And all the cheese and crackers and the olives and the, all of the party food that we sometimes take in the summer and have nice, little afternoons with cheese and crackers and stuff. Without doing all of that, just using what was in the trailer. We had pesto sauce left over from the lasagna that I had made for Christmas, for Christmas brunch. And so I brought that, and we had pasta with pesto one night. So it was kind of just regular, just regular food from the cupboard, which was. It was kind of easy way to pack. So, and I try to keep clothes in the trailer, but then that varies, right? Because you don't bring the same things during the winter that you'd bring during the summer. So I did have to pack clothes and stuff, but yeah, it was an easy way to. It was pretty easy to pack up and go, and then it was relatively crowded at the campground, considering that it was pouring rain. And the holiday, but there are a lot of people who spend that week between Christmas and New Year's camping, at least in our area. This is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, so
yeah. I was just going to make a note about your soup. Clean out the refrigerator soup. In my house, that's called kitchen sweep soup.
Oh, kitchen sweep soup. Okay. Yeah, it was really good. I had 2 different bunches of beet greens from the vegetable box, and so I just grabbed those and took them because I knew Aunt Betty wasn't going to use them while I was gone. And then potatoes, carrots, a squash. Just it was very, and then beans. Those peruano beans that are really nice. They make a nice creamy soup. Anyway, very good.
So back up. What are they called again?
Peruano beans.
Okay, and are they white? Are they white or what color?
Yeah, they're kind of a yellow color.
Okay.
Yeah. They're really nice.
Well, we're back at it.
Yeah.
It's a new year.
Mm-hmm. 2024.
So, we talked just briefly, Kelly, before we started recording, and I noticed in the show notes that you had a list of your projects from 2023. And I just looked at mine. Do we want to talk about that, or how do we want?
Yeah.
How do you want to do this?
I was looking on. I'll just tell you what I tell people. What I had done is I used to tag everything with the year, and so then at the end I could look under organize, and I could look at my tag for the year, and I didn't tag it until it was finished. So when I clicked before I clicked finish, I would tag it with the year. But what I realized, and so in 2021 I stopped doing that. But what I realized is if you click on index in your Ravelry project page, you actually get a number, because that's what I wanted, was how many, right? So, under, it has categories, project status. So I have a total of 274 finished projects over the course of my Ravelry life. 4 of them were frogged. 5 of them are hibernating. I guess I better go look at what those are. And 4 are in progress. But I only completed 14 projects last year in 2023. And I only completed 14 projects in 2022. And prior to that, I had like in the 20s and a couple of years, like 4 or 5 years since 2013. I've been in the like high 20s or 30s. It's just kind of amazing to me that I have so few projects the last 2 years. What's happening?
Okay, so I'm looking at mine, and finished projects 133, frogged 5, hibernating 11. I guess I should click on that and see what that is.
Yeah, I'm going to see if any of these hibernating projects are actually coming back. Okay, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the skull is in my hibernating. Yeah, no, I know what all these are. So anyway.
Actually, I have one that's hibernating that's actually done. I reknit it. So I guess I better change it to being, I'm just going to delete it. That was that I finished last year. But my summer fjord that I started last year, I put it in hibernation. That mohair vest is in hibernation. My baby socks project, where I was just making a whole bunch of baby socks and counting them up, that's in hibernation. I should just call that one finished, because I haven't made baby socks in years, and now I'm making those squares instead. I've got a half a doily made, or a part of a doily that's hibernated.
So so anyway, in progress, I have 7, but you're completed. So this year, 2023, this past year, 15 projects. I didn't think that was very much, but looking at 2022, 7 projects, 21, 8 projects, 2019, 15 projects. My most prolific year was 2017. I did 17 projects. So I didn't think this year, when we were talking earlier, I didn't think I'd made that many, but I actually did a lot more than I realized.
More than usual.
However, and we can talk about the projects, but I did 5 hats, a tea cozy for somebody else, 2 sweaters is all I did, but and tea towels. And I did only 1 pair of socks the whole year. That's interesting. But I have to say, the one sweater I did is the hand spun green and brown striped sweater that I did for Ben. And that one, in my defense, I knit that like 3 times.
Right.
Okay. I just a comment about my projects. And then the January blanket, I knit the blanket, but I also spun all that yarn too.
Right. Yeah. Spinning projects aren't in here. That's true.
Right.
That is
true. And then the other thing that took a lot of time is my brother's blanket. So let me click on that one, because I started that because I gave him the yarn for Christmas last year, And I actually started in February and I finished it in August. So I knit on that pretty exclusively. I have to say on that. So I get a little bit of pass. But the other thing I just want to say about my projects is 2 of them are not even fiber related. They're home improvement. Because one of them is the laundry room utility sink.
Oh, right.
That project, and my wall-to-wall carpet removal project. So those are not even fiber related. So I guess the utility sink is sort of fiber related because that's where I now wash out, hand knit. So it's a stretch, but it's fiber related.
Well, while you've been talking, I've been looking at mine, and one thing I do. So you mentioned about spinning, and I had forgotten that spinning doesn't count in here. They don't get incorporated. They're separate, a separate set of projects. And so until you knit with a yarn, it doesn't count. And I did do a lot of spinning this summer and a lot of fleece washing. And then also I have three different weaving projects for this year. So the crackle towels that I made in spring, dish towels, and then the monk's belt dish towels that I made early last year, and then the club car bedroom curtains, not the ones I'm working on now, but the ones I actually finished are in there. So those are long-term, those are longer projects, especially the towels. I count it as one project, but it's, 6 or 8 dish towels. So I guess that's fair. 3 pairs of socks, 1 for me and 2 pairs for other people. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, the changes in my production last year. And then the year before, 2022, I also had only 14 projects, and that included 1 project that was just like a bunch of hats. So multiple hats, and then my blanket that I made for the trailer. And just lots of hats. And then 1 project that was a bunch of dishcloths. So really 2 years of being fairly unproductive. 2022, I can't even say I did a lot of weaving because I didn't. But or spinning, I don't think I did. I did some spinning in 2022, but not as significant, not as much as this year. And then, so this past year, the last 2 years have been relatively unproductive.
Well, and I will talk about one of my spinning projects, and when we get into our projects, but also about the 2023, I spun 1,200 yards and over 1,700 yards. And then I was looking back, and and I will say I was wrong though. The Manx Lochten that I did for that blanket, I did that in 2022.
You spun it in
I finished it. Yeah, I finished it in October 22.
Oh, okay.
And then I think very shortly after that, when did I cast on that blanket?
In January, because you called it your January blanket, or maybe February.
Yeah. Let me look here.
So no wonder I feel like every episode I'm saying, well, I don't have much. I mean, that's really a project a month. A little more, tiny bit more than a project a month.
Oh, no, I started it in December.
Oh, okay.
I must have just finished that in October. I found the patterns cast on in December 11th, and I finished it February 20th.
Okay.
So
that one went fast.
Anyway. Well, and now you're doing squares.
Yeah, I actually, that's not going to be a very productive looking project because it's, it's just the same project page for hundreds and hundreds of squares. And I think I'm probably close to 175 now. I was over 100. I think I was over 100 last time, and then I got to 150, and then I did a bunch of them Robert's poor socks are still on the needles. I'm knitting on them today, but I did a bunch of those squares while we were camping. So I've gone through all the yarn you sent me. Marsha sent.
That was interesting too. How that I was going to say knitted up, wove up. I guess that was really interesting. I thought.
Yeah, it was a self-striping Vesper sock that she got in a bunch of mini skeins from Knockers. And I don't know, I think you had like 6 different mini skeins. And I could get 2 or 3 squares from one of the mini skeins because they were the smaller ones. You know, they were smaller ones than the Weird Sisters, Mrs. Weasley's knitting mini skeins because I can get 11 or 12 from those. Those are much bigger mini skeins. But anyway, yellow and green, that looked really good together. And the yellow and brown looked really good together. But some of the squares were yellow and brown and green, and those just look weird to me. That color combination just looks really, really weird. The colorway name is called Toxic, and I went to look to see what people had made. Yeah. I went to look to see what people had made from it, and there were no projects. I found the yarn in Ravelry. People had, actually put it in their stash, but there were no Ravelry projects using that yarn. And all of the people who had it in their stash, it was for sale or trade. I couldn't find anyone who had finished anything because I was just curious what it would look like in a finished project. Like, I think it would have made like self-striping socks, but it's pretty soft. So I don't know if it's called Vesper sock, but I don't know if people would have actually made socks with it because the yarn is pretty soft and kind of splitty. I mean, I'm using a crochet hook. I'm not knitting with it, to weave these squares. You pull the yarn through with a crochet hook. So that's a little different. But anyway, the squares are really interesting and it'll be nice in the blanket. They'll be really nice. But it's hard to imagine what somebody would do with those.
The colors, the way the colors are, because you don't have this in your project page, but you texted me a picture of the squares. And they're very geometric. It's surprising. Yeah,
you get plaid basically with any kind of variegation, but especially with the striping, you get a real clear. You get real clear plaid.
The ones you sent me, one is green, brown, and yellow. One is just brown and yellow. One is just green and yellow. And then one it's mostly green and brown with one little stripe of yellow in it. So it's really interesting how they.
Yeah, depending on where you start in the color repeat, you get a little different. You can get quite different look.
Do you think you're going to use them? Or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely use them. I've got quite a few. I think they'll look really good.
So I'm looking as of December 24th, you had 150 squares.
Yeah. So I think I have more than 25 that I made over since then. So I've got over 175 squares now.
Wow. And what's your goal, or do you have a goal?
No, I don't. But I do think, how I've been talking about starting to sew them together. So I have to wash the ones I have now that aren't washed. I think I'll wash them first. And I have been weaving in the ends, though, as I go, just leaving one tail to sew them together with. Or to at least start to sew them together with. I think what I'm going to do is sew them into strips. I think we talked about it last time about how I don't want to sew them together and have, have the squares kind of all the same in one section, and then I run out of that yarn and I don't have those squares in another section. And I realized if I just sew them together as strips, then I can just change the orientation of the strips and get, colors at the top and colors at the bottom, colors in the middle, and not have to worry so much about that.
So I do have a question about this idea of how you're going to sew them together. And it's based on my question I had about weaving. I remember that I can talk about that later, but but anyway, because you have different yarns in there and different fiber contents and different sheep and just everything's different. Is there going to be an issue when you sew these together that some are going to shrink more than others? And so if you, I guess, do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah.
So if you pre-wash them, you'll know what is super small and what is super big, right?
Yeah.
So then you can determine how you're going to put them together. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is probably better than just sewing them all together and washing it. Then you're going to have all kinds of weird puckering probably, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Well, some of them are superwash. Most of them are superwash because they're sock scraps.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to wash it, like throw it in the washing machine, wash it, which would definitely cause a problem because even with superwash, there is some shrinkage sometimes. And with the ones that aren't superwash, there would definitely be, some shrinking going on and felting and stuff. So I'm not going to do that. But I think because they're so pixelated, I mean, it's really small. The squares are small. They're, I think the pin loom is 4x4. And then by the time you take them off, they're maybe 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So it'll even out a lot more than if they were like 12x12.
Right.
So I think that'll be okay. I'm not going to worry about sewing them together like a quilt where, every corner is exactly right. I mean, I think it'll work. I think they'll be like that for the most part. But I'm not going to get super wrapped up in making sure that everything lines up proper, exactly corner to corner.
Right. Yeah.
And I think also because they're on the bias, they will stretch a little, but they won't stretch left to right or top to bottom. I mean, they'll stretch a little differently. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that stretching will work when they get sewn together. But anyway, I think I'm just going to sew strips of them because I'm eager to get that part of it started before it gets too overwhelming to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm about at that point with 150 squares. That's 10 by 15. And I'm a little bit further than that. And see, 10 by 4 inches would be 40. Yeah. So, I mean, I've got a good amount. I think the amount I have could make like a small lap blanket. So I'll keep going. But I'm almost out of yarn. I have a ball of brown sock yarn, Cascade 220 sock yarn, or not 220, Cascade sock yarn to finish, leftover ball of yarn from socks. And then I have the one orange mini skein left from the Mrs. Weasley mini skein set. Those were fun. All those colors were really fun. The mini skeins were big, so I got kind of bored with doing the same color over and over, but they're really good colors and solids. You had sent me also some browns, mini skeins that were in shades of brown, like light brown, beige, light brown, and then a little darker.
Kind of boring, but
no, so that's the thing is I like how I have a combination of like variegated colors and striping colors and then solids. So those were singles and I wasn't sure I was going to use them. I thought, well, I'll weave up a couple and look at them and see how they look with the rest, but they look fine. I mean, they go together just fine, even though, the rest of them are sock yarn, plied sock yarn. And then these are singles. And then you also sent me one Seismic Yarns Twist. That was a super stretchy sock yarn. That was the speckled one. It was kind of white with red and pink speckles. Okay, and that made really fun.
I have to go back and I remember I took a picture of everything. Let me go back and look at the
it was kind of a pink, pale pink with dark pink and red speckles. But it reads mostly kind of beige. Or cream colored, but it is a pale pink. But anyway, that I thought was really cool.
Oh, here it is.
But they were really, I had to be really careful that I didn't pull it too tight because that yarn is super stretchy. And the first one I made came out really small.
I must have found it after I sent you the picture, because the picture I sent you, it's not in there.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, yeah, those the green and brown and yellow, that toxic, that I got at the Knockers D-Stash table. They had all that one, like a card table just full of mini skeins. It was like the last day they were just laying. All of those mini skeins I took from that table. So somebody who went to the Knockers retreat left those there. So if you know who you are, they went into the blanket. But yeah.
So it's fun. Once I finish the orange and the brown that I have left, I'll have to just wait until I finish these socks and see what I have left from this pair of socks I'm making.
Yeah, what are you going to do now so you'll, like with the socks, that Robert's socks, you can put that in there, but you're sort of out of yarn now, right? Almost out of yarn.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Are you going to just go buy mini skeins?
No, it's time to sew them together and see how big I've got.
And wait till April in the Knockers retreat?
Maybe. I don't know. It's a kind of an obsessive project, so it might be nice to just be finished with the balls that I have and just put it away for a little while. I don't know. Sew them together, but not weave anymore for a while. So move on to other things. I don't know. We'll see. I got to get these socks finished that I'm making for Robert. They've been on the needles forever. Or at least it feels like it. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to have a new... so those are my only projects, these purple gray socks and all those squares. And then I was going to have a New Year's cast on with that punk rock unicorn that you brought me from Looped. Mm-hmm. And I caked it up and I brought it camping with me. And I was thinking I would make a sockhead hat, because that's one of my favorite kinds of hats. And it's a nice fingering yarn. And then some people commented on my Instagram some ideas. And I don't really have good enough internet at camping to be able to look up the ideas and get a pattern on my phone and use it. So I decided to wait till I got home and I could see what those suggestions were and if I wanted to use them. And one of the suggestions was an ear flap hat. Oh. And I thought, okay, you know what? That would be kind of nice to have a hat that has ear flaps, because the sockhead hat, I can pull it down over my ears, but hats always kind of ride up. Yeah. Because of your neck, right? The back of your neck.
Right.
And even if you make the brim really deep, you can only pull it down so far and then your neck is in the way.
Yes,
So
I know. That's why I like that.
Somebody had a really good, I can't remember who it was. I didn't write it down. But thank you for that suggestion of an ear flap hat with I-cord, hanging down from the ear flaps, and leaves at the bottom of the I-cord. And I don't know what pattern that is, or if it's just, an image she had in her head, but that seemed like it would be really kind of fun to do. So I kind of put that on hold until I decide what kind of hat I want to make. And then I was looking at that 1898 hat that you've made, but it's made with worsted, not fingering. So I thought, I
was just looking for, when you were talking about ear flaps, I was thinking that's a really good hat because it doesn't come down so far in the back. So your ear, but then it has like this little flap kind of, not really a flap, but a dip kind of, over your ears. And so, because it's true, all of the hats I have, because they're the same length all the way around. So then it hits your neck or the back of your coat and is pushed up all the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, find that pattern. It'd be interesting to see. There might be something, you know how to use Ravelry, Kelly. You could just, because doesn't it have attributes, you're looking for a pattern and then you can start looking for attributes and maybe.
Yeah. Well, I've looked at all the fingering weight ear flap hats and thought, okay, maybe I'll find one of those, but I haven't picked out which one and started it. And then, but I thought the I-cord, the little I-cords hanging down with little leaves at the bottom might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Or maybe flowers. I don't know. Be kind of cute. I'm going to need something for walking because I have another project that I'm starting, but I'm going to let you talk about your knitting projects first before I talk about my non-knitting project that I'm doing this year.
Okay. So, let's see. Let me look at the notes here. I have 2 finished projects. I talked about this in the last episode because I was making it for my brother for Christmas, but I finished another Ames beanie by Stephanie Larson using Leading Men Fiber Arts box office worsted in the colorway Spiced Apple Cider. And I finished that and gave it to him. And I don't have a finished picture of it, though. I need to get it back and take a picture of it. And then I finished, Kelly, the spinning project, Flowers from My Garden.
Yay.
The 24 ounces or whatever. And I have 8 skeins and I have 1,758 yards.
Cool. So,
I don't
sweater?
know. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if it's worsted or DK. I don't know. I washed all of the braids and now I have to, I have that little gauge to figure out, but it's somewhere. And I will say my first skein, I may save that out and use it if I need to. Because do you remember when I came down last November for the trailer rally and I was spinning that fiber and your comment was it wasn't really plied, that you sort of tend to over ply. And then as you wind it into the skein and then you wind it into the cake, it sort of tends to sort of unply a little bit. So you kind of compensate for that by over plying a bit.
Well, and it relaxes when you wash it. That's where I see the most change. Is it just it relaxes when you wash it and so if I thought I plied it enough, then when I wash it, it looks like it's underplied. Yeah. Yeah.
So the first skein is like that. It's I think it's underplied now. So I have 2 options. I think if I don't, it's 300 yards. I think I still have plenty of yard to make a sweater if I don't even use that one. My other thought is, I don't know if that's possible. Just wind it into a cake and then run it through the, put more twist into it. That's another option. But,
you can do that. And then you could also just save it and use it as like, if you have cuffs.
Yeah.
Cuffs on your sweater or like the button, like the button band or whatever, where it's not going to really be noticeable.
Yeah. So anyway, that's done. And I really like it. I really like the colors. It's very different for me. Actually, I'm going to say just a side note about, some people always tend to knit with the same colors. Like they really like purples or they really like greens or they really like grays. Kelly, do you think that I knit with the same color over and over again?
I don't think
is that
you
a trick
do.
question?
Yeah, I don't.
I kind of think I knit with different colors. So somebody made the comment, I'm moving into like this pink phase. So it's kind of pink and green and like a couple shades of pink. And then there's some green in there. I don't know. It's pink. There's no question it's pink. Yeah. But anyway, it's funny because I just was thinking, it's like, I don't really think that I knit with like the same, or that I have a color palette that I always use.
So, okay, here's an interesting thing we should try. Okay. In our project pages, we should do a tag with the color. Like, what's the main color? Okay. Right? I mean, I know that color is in the project pages, but just so you can organize it later, because I don't think that Ravelry, there's nothing about color in this index. So like if you do a tag of color and then you just tag it with the main color, then under organize, you can look at the tag of that color and you can see like how many red things did you make this year? How many green things did you make? I wonder if it would, and like just make yourself stick on the red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet, like you don't get to be like orange, yellow, green, right? You have to be like, pick a main color and that's all you can put in. And then let's see if we do have a predominant color for the year. Might be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. It's just a thought. Anyway.
But I don't think I don't think of you as always knitting the same color.
Yeah. So that's done. And then I started a new spinning project. And when we had gone over to I went in the first weekend in November, I went to the Fort Worden knitting retreat with Kim, and we went to a yarn shop in, is it La Mercier, I think, in Winslow. Anyway, I was just going to buy one braid of Malabrigo Nube Merino. And her friend Sue said, oh, no, you have to buy two, because I was trying to break my thing of buying 24 ounces.
Yes.
So anyway, but her friend Sue said, oh, no, you have to buy two because, and I think her point was you have more flexibility if you have more yardage with 8 ounces than you do with 4 ounces. I don't know. The point is I came home with two braids. So, and it's kind of a blue-green. So what I did with the first braid is I split it into, and I find it hard to believe that I was able to do it, but I kind of pulled the braid apart, like, side to side, and I split it into 10 individual strips. That's a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I've only done 4, I think, maybe 6, but I was 10, and they're thin, right? And I don't have to pre-draft them very much, So, and then the second braid, my plan is, well, my original plan until I opened it up is I thought, I'm just going to spin it straight, just start pulling pieces off and not strip it, into strips. I realize I can't physically do that. That's not going to be possible. So I'm going to just do it in half, or maybe I'll do it in thirds or something. And then I'll put I'll ply those two together and just do a 2-ply. That's my plan.
Nice.
So anyway, so I'm working on that, and I've got, the first one, I have spun 6 of those 10 little individual rovings. So I'm making some progress on that.
Yeah, nice. And how do you like the Malabrigo?
I like it. It's what is the word? It's not the braid. It's not felted, but it's kind of
compacted.
You have to really compacted.
That's what I was wondering,
compacted.
because I have heard people talk about it being super compacted and needing a lot of work to get it ready to spin.
Yeah, and that's why I realize I cannot just start pulling pieces off the braid without splitting it. Because even those 10 individual rovings, which are pretty thin, there's still sections where I have to really work to pre-draft it.
Yeah.
It's very compacted. Compacted, that's a good word.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that about that particular brand of fiber.
And then the other thing on my list, when we were at the beach, I tried to pick up the Camella hat, but again, I was talking about this the last time, because of all those sort of traveling, those twisted stitches. It's very, I have to just sit down quietly and get started back on that hat. Yeah. Tea Cozy, not even picked it up, nothing to say on that. I'm just working, like right now I'm sitting on these socks that I'm making out of the Knitterly Things Vesper sock yarn. I finished the first sock, and I'm at over halfway down the leg.
So that's the same brand as that Toxic that I was weaving with. Yeah. It seemed soft. Oh, okay. It seemed soft for me for a sock yarn. Do you think it's kind of soft for a sock yarn? No. Okay. No,
I don't. Maybe that's why it's called Toxic. It's just the color's weird, and the fibers, like, it just is not working as a sock yarn. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's and maybe it's an older version or an older base. Yeah, because it seemed soft to me for a sock yarn, sort of underplied and just kind of splitty, and so that's interesting.
No,
okay,
I would not say. And this is let me look at it. I think it's a 2-ply. Yeah, it's a 2-ply, but it doesn't feel soft to me. It feels. And knitted up, it feels
like a nice fabric for socks.
Yeah. Durable. Yeah. And then Fine Sand by Heidi Kermeyer. And Kelly, I was using the West Yorkshire Spinners Illustrious in the colorway Claret. I have to say that yarn is beautiful. it's so, I watch, so I have to say, I think the last time we recorded, I was going to wash and block the body and make my decision about if I liked it. And I washed and blocked it. It's beautiful. It's very totally bloomed kind of, it's super soft. I mean, it's just a really, it's beautiful yarn. But I'm not sure if I wish it was a bit roomier. Well, the thing is, I don't know because it actually fits the same way as the first one I made out of the cotton, whatever the yarn was, the cotton linen. And of course, this is a blend of merino alpaca. So it's drapey, but I don't know. And I thought, what I need to do is I have to just try it on. I've been putting it on over a long sleeve top. Now there's no sleeves on it. I don't know. I need someone to look at it because I just sort of wonder, do I really, because it doesn't cross over. It just is, if I just stand there and let it hang, there's about 4 inches between the two bands, which there really are no bands on it, which is the same on the other one. And I'm wondering if I'm just feeling weird about it because it's winter. Because the other one I made is really kind of a summer sweater because it's cotton and linen, and I wear it over a t-shirt, and then I don't care about closing it and so I'm really sort of planning on this sweater, would be fall, spring, maybe summer and cold summers because it can get sometimes a wool sweater in Seattle is not unheard of. And so I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I need someone to look at it.
I wonder if you would like it better if it had a one of those, like a closure at the top, not like bring it all the way together, but just I don't know, like a chain or you know what I mean? Like one of those ones that I've seen them where they clip on one side and clip on the other, and it just kind of holds the sweater on.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to fuss with it. It wouldn't be warmer, but...
No, and it's not really about warmth because I don't think I really need it for warmth. That really wasn't the idea. It was it's going to be kind of a dressy sweater that you throw over, I don't.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing, Kelly. I tried it on, I think it's okay. What did we say?
Yeah.
What did we say about the word
say
think?
That. It's kind of like you're trying to convince yourself that it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you have to do? I mean, you don't want to knit. You don't want to have a sweater that's out of such lovely yarn that you really like. That you never wear.
Exactly.
On the other hand, I mean, you could start over, rip it out and start over. That doesn't sound fun.
Well, I've done it before.
Well, the other thing you could,
So the thing is, I made
it might grow too, though, with the alpaca.
I know and the other thing is, I thought so this is my other thing I'm thinking. And I don't know if this is the answer, but when I washed and blocked it, I laid it out on the bed on a towel and I just kind of pinned it, but I didn't actually shape it really, and I'm wondering, I thought maybe what I might do is just wash and block it again, but really, I don't want to say stretch it, but put it more into the shape that I want because it's kind of
the
long.
Dimensions that you want. How much width do you need? Okay, stretch it to that width.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do that because there's no crime in washing. It's not going to hurt in any way if I wash it again. But I was just going to say, I recommend that yarn. I have no idea about the durability. It if it pills or anything, I don't know anything about that, but just knitting with it is really nice. And then just the way the fabric after I washed and blocked it is really, really nice. I would, really pretty yarn. So, let me think. Is that all I have for projects? That's it. Oh, I know what I wanted to say too. I mentioned about weaving. And we were talking about the squares that you're making. Is I have to do another weaving project because Kim is she's got I think she's done 4 of 8 towels.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some time. But now that she's got all of her mistakes corrected and she's really, she does.
Yeah, it'll go faster.
And like in 2 hours, she does 22 inches or something.
Mm-hmm.
So she's making time now. And also this last towel that she didn't follow the pattern. She just did plain weave.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she was amazing how fast she could go and she could get a rhythm where when you're following a pattern, it's hard to get that rhythm going.
Yeah.
And also she's finding because it is so wide, it's difficult to throw that shuttle all the way across. So it's hard to get that rhythm. Anyway, I have to come up with a new weaving project. And we were talking about this on the phone the other day, is that she has determined that she's allergic to alpaca. So, and mohair. And so she gave me a whole bunch she just said, do you want it? And I said, okay, so I'll take it. So there's tons of this alpaca and some mohair, which I don't think I would use. But anyway, I was sort of thinking weaving a blanket. And we were laughing on the phone, Kelly, about, oh my God, not another blanket.
Right. Well, and of course, Marsha, so people who are listening, what Marsha did. She says, okay, well, I have a loom that's this wide, so I could double weave this blanket so I could get it that wide. It's like, but you don't need every blanket you own to be as large as possible.
No, and actually what I think what I really beginning to think what I want to do with it, because I think the colors are really interesting, and I think it'd be kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Is I really think just make a shawl, like a big wrap. Mm-hmm. And that then, maybe, and then it's like, oh, you can just take it, like when you want to sit outside, you can wrap it. Like it'd probably be too big to take anywhere. But so that's what I'm kind of thinking of doing. But your comment was, because you have all these different, not necessarily different fibers, but they're different alpacas, right? Mm-hmm. And different manufacturers and different dyes and everything. All that can
maybe
affect
different number of plies. I mean, there's lots of differences in,
Right. That you wouldn't want to make like big blocks of stripes. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of thinking about that. And I'm thinking, well, I've only made 2 tea towels on my own. Maybe what I should do is just make another set of tea towels just to practice before I move on to a blanket or a big shawl. I don't know. I'm thinking it through.
Oh, I don't think I don't think that's necessary.
You think I should just go for it?
I think if you want to, you could just go for it. One thing that would be kind of cool is if you use, like when you're warping, you could warp 2 colors at a time. So your threads would alternate colors. Like, I don't know, you had a yellow and a brown. I'm just making something up. And you take the yellow and the brown and you warp with the yellow and the brown. And then when the yellow runs out, you get a green to go with the brown, and you warp with the green and the brown. And then the brown runs out, and you can, I wouldn't warp with too many colors at a time, winding them at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because you do have a possibility of things getting twisted. I did that once with like 5, I was warping with like 5 colors at a time, and I got things twisted, and that caused a problem. But, you don't have to just warp one color at a time and then change your color. Like you said, a wide stripe of like 5 inches of brown, and then, now you're going to go to 6 inches of yellow. You can grab 2 colors at the same time and wind them around the warping board.
And so then when you warp the loom, then you would just alternate. So like you're saying like the yellow and the brown. You would just alternate yellow and brown. Mm-hmm. Okay.
They'll be together in the cross. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but the cross that you do where the threads alternate. Yours, if you warp 2 at a time, then they're going to be 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down in the cross.
Right.
But you just need to pick them in the right order, like yellow, brown, and then the two next ones in the cross, yellow, brown. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thread them in that order. So, I mean, you can do some experimentation and kind of like Kim, not worry about weaving a pattern. Right? You're not doing any kind of structure and weave structure other than tabby, just plain weave. But the But the colors, then you can look at how the colors play together.
Yeah. So I have say I warp the loom like you're talking about, alternating the colors, you know, and then when I actually start weaving, again, the same thing. I would not really want to do like 5-inch blocks of one color, right? The same thing. I mean, could I make them smaller, like an inch?
Yeah.
Stripes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you may get some variation, but it won't be kind of like what I was talking about with my squares. They're smaller, so you're not going to have a big difference between one stripe and another stripe. And then you could even play with the same thing, like, alternate colors in the weft if you have 2 shuttles. I mean, you have some ability to play.
Yeah.
A little bit, which I think is really fun. And also you learn a lot about what you like.
Yeah. Anyway, I just think it's kind of a fun, because the other thing is I'm not investing any money in this at all, really and so if it's great. If it's not great, it becomes, I just put it in the dog's crate.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to be totally and theoretically that's kind of how dish towels are, right? They're just towels. So you don't have to be super invested in it. But if you've spent money on a kit, then you kind of feel like you want to make what's in the kit. And then you feel like you want to do the pattern that's in the kit and you don't want to play around. It's like, I just like the idea that you have some ability to experiment.
I was thinking I could just do tabby or I could do a twill of some kind, just a...
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm kind of planning on. And I just have to figure out the yardage. And I also have in my stash, all of her alpaca is lace weight. And I have some lace weight, 2 balls of lace weight, kind of a turquoise color that I bought years ago down at Black Sheep. So I may throw that into it also to get, because I
should send you, I have a yellow lace weight cashmere, I think. I should send that to you.
Yeah, send that. I'll throw that in.
Yeah, you can throw that in.
And would there be any problem mixing the alpaca and the mohair and the cashmere? And
I don't think
just
so.
The same thing I might have is keep my color stripes small, right? So there's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the only reason I say that is because I have made things with stripes, and you do see, with different yarns, and they just weave up differently, and they wash up differently, and you get, you might have really nice edges. Your selvage edges might be really nice, but there's a big difference between the width you get from one yarn when it comes off the loom and the width you get from another yarn when it comes off the loom. So, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but you can mix the colors together and have a little bit more consistent sizing, Well, that sounds fun.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna figure out what I've got in terms of yardage. I have to do some math. Oh my gosh, Kelly, math.
I'll send you the sheet I use, the calculation sheet I use. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
well,
that's
it for projects, but
let me just talk. I have a non-fiber project.
Yes, I know. That's what I was going to ask you about.
So I actually bought myself for Christmas. I was out Christmas shopping and I saw this book, The Bay Area Ridge Trail, which I had known about the trail, this idea of creating a trail that goes all the way around the San Francisco Bay Area. And, and of course on the ridge. So you're up kind of high in most of the places. Not super high because, we don't have that tall of mountains. But I had thought that would be fun to do. Anyway, I saw this book that had the Bay Area Ridge Trail. And so I bought it for myself and wrapped it up, put it in my, put it under the tree for me. Opened it up on Christmas morning. Anyway, I started looking at it once Christmas was over, and there was a campground that we were going to try to camp at, Coyote Lake. It's in Gilroy area, and there, lo and behold, there's a trail there. Part of this Bay Area Ridge Trail goes through this campground. So we thought, okay, well, let's go. We were going to go look at the campground. So let's go look at the campground and let's hike a portion of the trail. Now, since the trail is end to end, you circumnavigate. So all these little trail pieces, they're not loops. So this was like a 5-mile section of the trail, something like that. Maybe it was a 4-mile. Anyway, we aren't ready to do 10 miles to do out and back. And I didn't, because we have the dogs, doing the car shuttle is kind of impractical. So like Robert and I both drive and drop the car off at the end. And because then he has to take the car back to get the truck, bring the truck to us, get the dogs in the truck, take the truck back to the car, and then we drive home, right? Because the dogs don't ride in the car, they ride in the truck. So the car shuttling thing doesn't work as well. So it's out and back for us. So we went out and back on this trail and then made a little side trip down to the campground. So we only did a portion of this 5-mile trail because out and back of the whole thing would have been 10 miles, which is too much for me for right now, and too much for the dogs for right now. So that was fun. We got a little bit of that trail. And then we went to Mount Madonna to camp for the New Year holiday. And that's another portion of the trail is at Mount Madonna. So I had this plan. Okay, so there, Robert was just going to drop me off. It was a 3.5-mile section of this Bay Area Ridge Trail. And the trail is not it's not contiguous. There's a lot of places in the trail that have gaps still. They're still building it, trying to get all of it.
Oh, okay.
So it's contiguous because right now it's not. There's, public land. There's private land that they're trying to buy. There's private land that they're trying to get like an easement on to build the trail. So there's like, the book says 375 miles of trail, but the website currently now says 400 miles of trail. So there's a lot of miles of trail, but it's not consecutive. But anyway, this Mount Madonna section of the trail, Robert dropped me off at one end of the trail, and then I was going to walk to the other end of the trail, 3.5 miles, and then walk back to a place where it connected up with a different trail that went back to our campground.
Okay.
When I got to the place where it connected up to the trail that goes back to our campground, I hadn't gotten to the end of the trail I was supposed to be on, but it was closed. So I ended up just having to come back to the campground. So I only got 2.2 miles out of the 3.5. So far, 2 very short segments of this trail, and I haven't been able to do the whole segment of either one of them. But long-term project for 2024. I'm not going to be able to finish it in 2024 just because of that non-consecutive and also end-to-end nature of it, and logistics. But I'm starting the project of hiking this entire trail.
Okay.
Section hiking.
The 400 miles. So, okay. So back up. Maybe I think I missed. Where does it start and where does it end?
Well, it depends. You can start anywhere because it circumnavigates the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, okay. So it's just the Bay Area. So it's not like it's running north-south, like down to Los Angeles or something. So it's just, you're just going to, okay.
It's a big circle around the San Francisco Bay.
Okay.
So, for example, the book starts the book has to start somewhere. So the book starts the trail at the Golden Gate Bridge. And so one segment of the trail is crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. And then there's
okay.
another segment that immediately starts right after that and, goes like into Marin and has sections of trail up there. And then it kind of goes, around and comes down the East Bay past Fremont. Mission Peak is on it. That across Mission Peak, down south through Gilroy, San Jose, Gilroy, down, across. At that point, it goes across, and there's a big gap going across into the Santa Cruz Mountains, and then up the Santa Cruz Mountains, up the peninsula side of the Bay Area. So it's basically a big oval around the San Francisco Bay.
Okay, so then when you do these sections, are you planning on doing where you hike through and Robert picks you up on the other side, or are you going to do in and out?
Well,
Or
it depends.
Will it depend?
It will depend.
Okay.
If I want to do it by myself, I'm going to have to go and do out and back.
Okay.
Which means I probably won't be able to do the whole, well, for a while at least, until I get better trained. I won't be able to go and do a 5-mile section of trail because I'd have to go 5 miles in and then turn around and come 5 miles back to the truck.
Yeah.
So the logistics are going to be, that's going to be limiting. Like what I can do right now of the trails is limited by my ability to go that distance. In the summer, it's going to be limited by my ability to be out, in the heat of the day. Like you can only do so much before it gets too hot.
Right.
So I'm going to be doing this in sections, and probably my sections are going to be actually, like right now, the sections I've done so far are actually smaller than the section of trail because I haven't been able to go the whole section and then turn around and come all the way back.
Right. And then my other question, are you planning on doing this with the dogs or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe not both of them, just depending on where I am. And some sections of the trail don't allow dogs, but most sections do. So like you can't go across the Golden Gate Bridge with your dogs.
Okay.
So, that part won't be.
I'm just going to interject something. Kim and I were talking about Barry. And because I saw you posted the picture on Instagram of this little hike that you did with the dogs. And when I first met, you only had Barry a month and you came up Memorial Day weekend. And we went to Magnuson and he could barely make it through the dog park. He laid down. He just on his own just laid down in the shade twice. I mean, what an amazing that he can go. Possibly he's going to be going 5-10 miles.
He's actually a pretty great hiker. I would describe him as kind of like when we were at the dog park and you said he's just kind of like a barge. He gets on a direction and just goes. He has a very workman-like style of hiking. It's like, okay, we're on the trail, we're going. I mean, he likes to stop and sniff. That's he does that. But when if I stop to do something, he's like, "Why are you stopping? Why are you stopping? Come on, let's go. He's just very, he just has a very sort of workman-like attitude about hiking, and he can now go quite a few miles. Yeah. So we did 8 miles. We did 8 miles out on the rec trail one of the days during break. Of course, that's flat. So like I can't do 8 miles of trails. I can't do it. Maybe the dogs could, but I can't.
Well, I mean, it is, you said this to me too, like, have to, if you're going to like hiking or any distance, you have to train for it and you have to build up the mileage. Right. And the same thing with the dogs.
Yeah.
You just can't take them out and do a 12-mile hike.
Right.
I mean, if they've been spent a year laying on the bed, sleeping.
That's right. Exactly.
They have to work up to it. So,
and we both know, like, you could go out and do a long hike, but you go slowly, right? You can't really go slowly with the dogs. The dog's hiking style. My dog's walking style is fast, right? And so my pace the pace that I go when I'm walking with the dogs, whether it's on the flat or on trails is faster than I can manage. It's fast enough that the distance I can manage is less than if I was just doing a leisurely hike. So,
well,
I'll be getting in shape for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of laughing because when I take Enzo for a walk just around the neighborhood every day, he goes at a very slow pace. He's kind of behind me a little bit. He's never out in front of me, stopping and sniffing everything, marking everything. And so, then halfway through, it's like, okay, enough of that. We're now going to walk. We're done with the sniffing because you can't do that then. And then there's some days we do a little bit shorter walk and I just let him sniff all he wants because that's what it's all about. When I take him hiking, and a lot of times if it's a trail that's not really busy, I let him off leash because he just follows right behind me. And he just matches my pace. Or sometimes with the dog walking, I feel like I'm just dragging him along and I think he's bored. And then sometimes on the hiking, he'll go out in front of me, but he never goes off like down the trail and disappears. He just stays like, maybe 5 feet in front of me, but he can go at a much faster pace on the hiking trail than I go. He's got 4-leg drive. I've got 2-leg drive. Yeah. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of interested in the smells and stuff. And I think it's kind of exciting, like being out there instead of walking around the city. So he goes a little bit faster pace on the trail. I will admit that. But
yeah. So
this is exciting.
I have a project and it's pretty fun so far. The book has a little section where you mark off what you've done. So that'll be cool. And then I'm going to have a little trail journal where I'll record what I've done and we'll see how it goes. So far, I've got a very small amount.
Well, my athletic endeavors for the new year have not started off with a bang. Everyone's been telling me I need to join a gym for strength training. And I looked online, and the one where my brother goes, Kim joined it. It's just very close to the house. And yesterday, I drove over to the gym to sign up and got about a block from it and turned around and went home. I don't know. I'm not really a gym person. I'm kind of more, I would rather go out and walk.
Yeah.
But I also realize the walking is really good. So anything I say, I am not dissing walking because we both do the distance, or I used to do the distance walking. I've not done that since we were training for the Big Sur, but the walking is fantastic. You get out there in fresh air, you're moving, you can do it with your dog. There's so many great things about it, but it's not really working your entire body. Like I need to work on arms and...
Well, especially if you're not going a long distance or you're not going very quickly.
Right. And so I need to do a lot more just overall strengthening if I want to be active, right? So I don't know. I'll make my decision but it was kind of funny. I drove over there and I just like, oh my God. And it's over at Magnuson Park. And so you have to wind your way through and I couldn't find the parking lot. And I just thought, I'm going home.
So why don't you just do something at home?
I know. And that's what I was also thinking too, because on Instagram, I'm always getting all these ads for the wall Pilates or something. And I thought, why can't I just do some kind of program? There's got to be an app for...
Well, there's some kind... I mean, you watch a lot of YouTube. When I had my broken foot, I found chair yoga. I didn't actually do it. I did it only a couple of times, but here's the thing. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff. But you have to do it.
Yes, there is. There's all kinds of stuff I could do at home. But here's the thing, Kelly. Am I doing it? It's like, there's part of me thinks like, God, maybe if I just went to classes over there and I was looking, they have Pilates, they have strength training, they have all these classes. I thought, God, maybe if I had to go to a class, I sign up for it and I would do it, but I can do all kinds of things at home, but am I doing it? No. I'm knitting and spinning, I have the discipline for that, but anyway.
Yeah, no, so. I hear you. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
I don't think you have to do a gym if you don't want to do that. If that's so unpleasant sounding to you that you go there and you turn around and come home before you even signed up, then that's kind of like saying to yourself, oh, I think this will be fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it will probably be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds already like it would be something you would pay for and then not use.
Right. So the thing about this gym is it's you can do month to month. So I thought, maybe I'll just go try. You can just buy a month pass.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe what I should do is just initially just do a month pass and just see how I'm using it.
Mm-hmm.
And I might the thing is, I might actually really like it because I sometimes feel very lethargic. I do a lot of things, but sometimes I feel really tired and lethargic. And I wonder I remember in college, I'd be really tired. Then we'd go down and we'd shoot hoops, and then we'd go swim, and then we'd go sit in the sauna, and then we'd go get a giant milkshake with a Butterfinger ground up in it, and everything. And then I did a lot. Then I would study. Like I felt kind of energetic after it. And so I think, energy creates energy. So like the more I get out there, and I am better in motion, right? Mm-hmm. Come on, better in motion. Let's get moving, So I kind of wonder, like, if I went and I'll never know until I try.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to sign up for 1 month, and
I think a class would be a good idea.
Yeah,
because that's it's a set time. It's a set group of people. It's an activity that you don't have to decide what you're going to do when you get there.
Yeah. You don't have to decide. And then do you remember years ago, my friend Crystal talked me into signing up for a gym, and I went. And
you ended up
going,
having to have knee surgery, right?
I had to have knee surgery. So, what I didn't like is I had a private trainer. I didn't like that singular focus on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like the idea of the class where I can participate at the level that I want to participate. Right. And I can be in the back or wherever I want to be. And maybe today I feel like being in the front. Maybe today I feel like being in the back. I didn't like that singular focus of the personal trainer. And I also didn't like going with Crystal. And it's not Crystal. I didn't like going with a friend because she wanted to talk while we were on those bicycles. And I sort of like checking out what I like about the distance walking. I like doing it by myself. I don't want to go with anybody because I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
I find it meditative, and I also don't really want to go so if you're hanging out in a class, you can be social a little, maybe before the class, a little after the class, but in class I don't have to talk to anybody because I don't know anybody there. Right. Right. So I'm a special needs athlete. I'm special needs.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
But you kind of are. I think you're the same way, Kelly. You don't really want to do training with a group of friends,
right?
Like you had that experience,
and when I invited them to do the Big Sur with me, I thought for a long time about it. Like, okay, that means my training is going to always be with other people, and the event is going to be with other people. And I decided, okay, for this year, that's what I want to do. That's okay. I can do it this year. That would be fun. But it's not my normal way. Like when we were camping, Robert's like, oh, I'll come with you. And I said, no, that's okay. I'm just going to take the dogs, and I would go by myself because I like going out and hiking by myself.
Yeah, and it's nothing against our friends, right? It's nothing against Robert, but it's like sometimes we just want to be by ourselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, because do you remember years ago too? When I was doing the training, and I ran into this woman. I was walking. It turned out it lived in the neighborhood, and she wanted to go walking with me. And I'm like, okay, well, I need some friends, and I was like, and I finally. And do you remember we had this whole discussion? I finally had to say to her, I don't want to walk with you anymore.
Yeah.
Because she was going through a divorce. I had to hear all this stuff about her. And it's like, that's not why I'm out here. And I'm not here to go then because I learned the first year. Do you remember now we're getting way off topic but my first year of training, I would go and sit and have a cup of coffee, and then I'd walk a couple more miles, and I'd have lunch.
Right. Yeah. No. That's...
And then when I actually was out there on the trail, I realized what you have to learn is stamina. That you are walking for 6 hours, and you have to learn how to take nourishment while you're walking.
Yeah.
And,
if you're training to do 21 miles, you have to work towards being able to walk for 21 miles.
It was for her, she just wanted to walk and then sit in the cafe. And I was like, no, I can't do that. So anyway, okay. Well, we went down a rabbit hole. But I'm excited for you. This sounds really fun. And it's also fun. It's really fun with this kind of thing to have a goal. And then you start marking off the leg, like all the pieces, you're marking it off the list, so to speak. Yeah. And
it's going to be a long-term project, like all those little squares or my quilt or knitting a blanket. It's definitely a long-term project. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could really realistically say, I'm going to do this whole thing in 2024. I'm not even sure I could do the whole thing in 2024 and 2025. It might take me a lot longer. Well, because
you're working. I mean, you only could do it on,
right.
It's just the hours in the day.
Yeah. And the driving, like, you have to, the North Bay, I'm not going to get up in the morning and drive out there and hike and then drive home. I mean, that's a long ways away.
And then you also might, and some of this you'll have to rely on Robert, right, to pick you up at the end of the trail. And he has a project.
Yes.
And he's counting down his 365 days that you allowed him on that truck. So
yes, he's coming down to
you
the
have
end
to
here.
Consider that too.
That's true. That's true. We have a lot of projects, both of us. So anyway, this is one more.
I guess any day that you ask him to come and pick you up at the end of the trail, that means he gets one extra day on his 365 days.
I have to take it off of his truck project.
Like a snow day. You have to tack it on to the end of the school year.
Right. Exactly. So, okay. Well, let's just wrap up with our events. Our winter weave along, we know, is going on. It started in October and it's going through March 31st. So if you're weaving along with us, it's been fun to see people's projects on the Ravelry group. We have a lot of people watching, reading the thread, and it's always fun to see new people pop up on the thread. So do pop in and say hi if you're watching and you're weaving along with us. And then I just want to mention that I am going to be in Florida the 19th through the 22nd in Orlando for a conference. I don't really know how much free time I'll have, but if there's anybody in the area who would want to try to meet up at some point, message me. You can email, message me through Ravelry or email 2Ewes at 2ewesfiberadventures.com or message me 100 projects through Instagram and we can see what we can work out. It'd be fun to see someone if you live in the area.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, it's a work trip, so I don't have a lot of flexibility, but if it could work out, it might be fun.
Yeah, maybe it might work out. So, well, that will be fun. I don't know. A conference, is that fun, Callie? The conference will be really interesting. You want to go, right?
Yeah, I kind of want to go. Yeah.
Oh.
We'll talk about that later. We're already an hour and 20 minutes in.
Yep. Okay. Well, with that, we will say goodbye.
All right.
We'll talk it. Well, I realize, Kelly, I always say, well, we'll talk in 2 weeks. And that's not always true. We'll talk the next
We're going to try to be better in the new year. But yes, like every resolution, you never know how that's going to come about. But hopefully we'll get back on track.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll talk.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.